Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I'm your host, Sadia, and this is my mother, Ema. Hey, Ema.
Oh, my sweetness. As I just finished doing some shopping and I'm outside and it's a beautiful day in Florida. It's like 80 degrees. What's the temperature in Baltimore?
I think like 60, actually. We've gotten some decent weather lately.
Not bad. Not bad. It'll probably snow next week.
Yeah, that's what I'm expecting. Like it's February has this moment where it's like it's freezing cold, then for like a week or two, it's like close to spring, then it goes back to freezing cold until like March 20th or like April 1st. Then it's just raining for like a month.
Well, there have been some winters in Baltimore where there was no spring. It somehow, the winter did not want to let go. And it was May and it was still in the 30s. It was crazy. And then June hit. And then the later part of June, it just jumped right to the 90s. In fact, there was one June where we had a very late, surprising frost that came it was like the first week of June, second week of June. And the temperature punched right down to the 30s, very unexpectedly, very suddenly. And people who had put in their tomato plants were just furious.
Oh, I'm sure they were. Um, yeah, so I was going to tell you about this is more of like a heavy topic. And I was going to do a little more elaboration. So just bear with me here.
Yes.
So like a couple of weeks ago, Ruthie got into a car accident.
Ooh.
And it banged up her car, and we had to take it in. When we had to take it in, she was on my schedule when it came to going to work and getting organized and starting her day and ending her day. And I start my day at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I don't end it till 6 o'clock at night. I have a 12-hour shift kind of thing, and I work with her, and we basically were having a very busy schedule where the cat wasn't being taken care of 100%. Like we were feeding him, we were playing with him, but the cats are very sensitive to schedule. So the cat started having a bladder issues, and he got stopped up, and we had to take him to the vet. And the vet, we had to take him originally to the emergency room to have a catheter put in and have that taken care of. And then during this time, the bill, we didn't have pet insurance at the time. So the bill was pretty high, and we had to deal with that. And then my engine light went on, and I had to get my engine light checked. So it was just, everything was just spiraling and spiraling. And I was just getting stressed out and annoyed and just mad at myself and mad at everything else and blaming myself for everything. And just feeling, I mean, the word I'm thinking of, I guess, would be a loser, just feeling like a loser. Just looking back in my life and being like, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, I messed this up, I ruined that up, I screwed this up. And I was wondering if you can walk me through times that you felt like you were a loser, that you screwed up, and that you had shit going down. And if you can elaborate a little more on those stories.
How about my entire life? How's that?
That's what I kind of figured.
You know something? You're no different from anybody else. Everyone feels the same way, especially when one thing after another seems to happen. What was wrong with your car? How come the engine light went on?
So I got it checked by Lenny, and everything was okay. It turns out there was some I got my car's emissions tested, and they didn't properly close off certain parts of the car. So it was registering the thing wrong. I mean, it still got beeped. There were a few other things that had to be taken care of. But that's for later down the road. But the main
move here to Florida, we don't have emissions testing.
Yay! I mean, I tried.
I know the emission testing people. Quite honestly, I think it's a whole scam. I really do. I think it's a scam.
Yeah.
Because our vehicles are all coming with pollution control devices. There's no reason for it. As a matter of fact, there was one time where they actually were able to bring it to a referendum in Maryland for the people to vote whether or not they wanted the emissions testing. The people in Maryland overwhelmingly voted to get rid of it, and the governor refused. Somehow he was able to override the votes of millions of people. And, from one activist person, I'm sure, let's put it this way, I'm sure, I don't think the emissions people were, or the companies that provide the emissions equipment were lining his pockets. You don't think there would be anything like that in our government in Maryland, do you?
Oh, of course not.
Of course not.
Um,
No.
so back,
So
I was trying back to what you were saying before, and can you give me points in time that you felt the way I did? You said your whole life, but can you give me like, I would say something when you were 35, around the age of 35.
Oh my God. That was very easy. All I had to do was look in the mirror.
Care to elaborate?
Better than that, put on a bikini and look in the mirror. That did it entirely.
So you had body shaming issues. But like my point I was trying to make was, you know, at that time, at your lowest point, what would be a regret that you had? You realized it was just you expressing frustrations, but it wasn't really a regret.
Oh gosh, it's a good question. That's a good question. But you know something, life isn't perfect. It isn't, and we're not going to win all the time. We're not going to succeed all the time. You know, we have to try our best, but there's, I think everybody feels this way. Even, you would think that people like, your big millionaire people, like, your Bill Gates and all these individuals that are, living multi-billion-dollar lives that you and I can only dream of. And you see in their personal life how, things are how there are many areas where they're not succeeding.
Yeah.
I think I think it's just a matter. Someone once told me when I was in New York, and I was learning one of the schools there, and I was late for one of the classes, and it just so happened that particular teacher that was teaching one of the classes was getting irritated with people coming in late, and I came in late. She just yelled at me to get out of the room, and I didn't want to make a scene, so I left, and I was very, very upset, of course, and why this, why that. My first job that I had in New York, I got fired from for some pretty good reasons.
Yeah.
And it's like I thought to myself, I am nothing but a pathetic case. I mean, what can I say? I'm little, I'm stocky, I'm 5'2", and on the stocky side, and it would be nice to be maybe 5'10" and thin, but I'm not. And one of the girls, when I was so very frustrated at that point, she said to me, she says, have you ever thought of just rolling with the punches and stop trying to fight so much?
It's funny you say rolling with the punches. I was thinking of that today because, the other thing that really topped the plate of the weekend was we were supposed to go to Pittsburgh for the weekend and hang out with my friends. And unfortunately, because of our cat, we had to cancel everything. And it worked out in the long run because my friend's wife was currently not feeling too good. So we were able to, it worked out in the long run, but still the feeling of not being able to get away. And I was working really hard throughout the whole week. And like the past month and a half, I've been working on Sundays, trying to get like deadlines passed and work really hard to get things done, that it was just so frustrating that I just had no release. And when I think of rolling with the punches, it gets to a point where I'm thinking like, okay, I don't care anymore. That's rolling with the punches. Just not give a shit. Don't care. Let it keep on hitting you in the face and then just feel dead inside. And it's very frustrating because rolling with the punches feels like a defeatist. Like, oh, just roll the punch. Oh, okay, so I just won't care about anything anymore and just let things slide.
Like, no. There's a difference between rolling with the punches and, like you said, just I don't care anymore. Big deal, there's a difference. Rolling with the punches would mean, yeah, you care. Yes, I am going to do everything I can to remedy the situation, but I'm not going to let it tear me up inside. I can't. Yes, I care, and I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to take care of the car. I'm going to take care of the cat, which is what you did. You took care of the cat. You took care of the car. You took care of your wife's car and everything in that situation. And that was pretty good, and you handled it. Rolling with the punches means to, I guess there's a term in English called equanimity.
Yes. Yes.
Equanimity, calmness. And you did just that. You should give yourself a pat on the back.
No, I didn't do it calmly.
But you didn't fall apart. But you didn't fall apart. You handled it. You
well,
did
it's like there were moments where like I felt like I kind of fell apart because I felt like when I was in the car alone, driving home from work, exhausted, having to deal with everything, and then seeing that engine light turn on, the words that came out of my mouth was just like, F this, F that, I'm done, get me out of here, that's it. Is there like a way out of this matrix? Is there a way out of this freaking timeline? Like, I'm done. I'm so freaking done.
Well, they say things happen in threes. So that's your threes already. So you're finished.
No, it was the cat, the car, Pittsburgh, and the other car. That was four. You know, that was four.
Okay, so you did more than your share. Okay, so you did it. You succeeded.
Oh gosh.
I want something interesting. There's something on YouTube I came across.
Yeah.
Where it was a mathematician was talking about numbers by which he was basically, the whole premise was, how can you tell there's a God? And he says, the way you can tell there's a God, and this was a big mathematician, he says, if you look at the universe, everything in the universe runs by combination of 3, 6, and 9. So I was thinking about, everyone always says that when disaster strikes or when you go through a hard time, it hits in threes.
I mean, I kind of have issues with that because it's like, I don't know, that's kind of an absolute concept that it really is going to have to be proven immensely. You know, but again, that's where I was getting frustrated. That's where I was getting annoyed with like the fact, even the way I reacted, I wanted to feel like I was so put together, but like this week I just wasn't having it. It was just constant frustration. Like every other day was some other problem. And it was just like, I'm just looking for the weekend because I just wanted to let go of everything. I was just so done.
The thing is, like I keep saying, you handled it. Yeah, you reacted. Yeah, you were upset. But you know something? I've seen people who, in the face of say something difficult like that, not God forbid a major, horrible, life-changing disaster. No, God forbid, not like that, but something kind of like irritating, something that kind of messed up their day. I have seen people so totally fall apart that they just start crying and they can't do anything. They're just totally taken apart. And it wasn't that you weren't happy about it. You did say some few choice words, but you know what? You stuck in there and you handled it. I'm gonna tell you like a funny story. I don't know if we've mentioned this before, but when I was in college, there was a hurricane that hit the area. I think it was Hurricane Agnes, whatever. And I'm upstairs and I hear my mother crying.
Okay.
And I go down to, we had a sub basement. I go into the sub basement.
What happened?
Think about it. The sub basement was flooded.
Yeah.
What happened was something went wrong with our sub pump.
Okay.
We couldn't figure it out at the time, but later on I was able to find out what was wrong with the sub pump and fix it. Mm-hmm. So what happened was, here's my mother, and she was in this nightgown. My mother now was rather rotund. She was only 4'10" and weighed like 140 pounds. And at nighttime, she would do her hair for decades. She'd always did her hair the same way. She would take the bobby pins and roll her hair into these little tight curls and then pin it with the bobby pins.
Yeah.
So she's standing there. She's wearing these big rubber galoshes, because we know with the sub up and everything, you got to be careful. You have to wear rubber to keep from getting electrocuted. And she's got a bucket in her hand. And she's in the nightgown with her hair in the little tight pins, girls.
Mm-hmm.
And she's holding the bucket with these big galoshes and in her nightgown and the robe. And she's crying. She's sitting there crying. I said, what happened? She said, something's wrong with the sub pump and we gotta put, she was trying to bail out the water and throw it into the sink that we had there. And obviously she wasn't succeeding. It was too much. So I said, what's with this? So they told her to go. She called up BG&E and they told her to go jiggle the sub pump. But that was stupid. I mean, come over with your bare hands and jiggle the sub pump. You're gonna get
Yeah.
electrocuted. That's crazy.
No,
They
you
give
wouldn't
them
be
acid
protected.
so
You'd
she
be-
called the fire department. The fire department hasn't come yet, though. So I had an idea. I said, give me. I said, come on out. I said, give me the galoshes. Let me see what I can do. I put on the galoshes, and I picked up this long, like 2x4 that we had in the basement,
Yeah.
and I hit the sub pump with it, and I see this flash of electricity just go right across the floor, and sub pump starts working.
Oh, wonderful.
After the water's all drained out, I walk over. The problem was that there was this wooden like base that was right there at the sub pump, and somehow this wooden base, this wooden frame, had gotten moved for some reason, kicked or who knows, pushed for some reason, and it was right up against the piston of the sub pump. So it couldn't go like up and down. The piston's supposed to go up and down to get the sub pump working. So the piston couldn't move. So when I hit the sub pump with the 2x4, somehow it jiggled this wooden frame that was around the base of the sub pump, and the piston was able to go up and down and up and down. So anyway, there was one time when you kids were little, I don't know how old you kids were, but we had a similar flood in our basement.
Yeah.
And when I came downstairs and I saw the water all over the floor, and I don't know how many inches it was, my first temptation was to burst into tears and just lose it. But then I thought of my mother. And I thought to myself, do you want to look like that?
Oh gosh.
No. I said, you just better go get the wet dry back and start working.
Oh my gosh. Actually,
You're gonna look like that.
I have a similar story with water. Basically, was like there was a time I was going through a bunch of stuff, and like I was, single and all this other things, and like my washing machine broke, and I just get the sub pump and come home after work and just clean it up by myself, like just a lonely piece of shit, just being like, all right, whatever, get the stuff done. But what about Zadie? Did Zadie ever have like moments of like frustration and like just done, like, or was he like a real stiff upper lip 1950s guy?
He was more of a stiff upper lip 1950s guy, except when it came to me.
Oh, yeah, when it came to you,
that's when he lost. That's when he would lose it.
You were the final straw. That's what it was. I think you were the final straw that like really pushed him. But moving on though. So I have a question. What were your feelings like when your parents were better grandparents to your children than they were a parent to you?
I kind of understood.
Yeah.
And that's human nature. In fact, I was listening to this talk show psychologist years ago, who was actually talking about that. And she said, isn't it interesting how the patience that we have, patience and the wisdom that we get with being an older age, we wish we had that wisdom and patience when we were younger. Yeah. And they were talking about that one time on it was a program I was listening to about human brain development. And they did some research, and they said as a person ages, that there is a part of the brain that determines like I say problem solving, and I guess what we would call wisdom and calmness. And that part of the brain actually gets more developed the older you get. So it's a very biological thing. Yeah, it's a natural tendency. And I kind of understood, first of all, as a grandparent, you don't have the same pressures as you have as a parent. There's an old saying, being a grandparent is all fun and no responsibility. Because as a parent, you're worried about your kid, and you got bills to pay, and you've got your kids in school, and you have clothing, and you have your kids, you have to provide for them, their clothing, their food, their recreation, their this, their that, medical attention, things like this, And that's a lot of pressure, and that can really weigh very heavily on a person. Whereas as a grandparent, thank God you've paid your dues. You don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
So you don't have that kind of stress, which really makes a big difference in the way that you might look at life.
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny, but it's like one of the main lessons we're learning from this week's episode is like how to take it on the chin. You just have to take life on the chin, and the older you get, the more you're used to it. That doesn't bother you anymore. You become numb to it.
It's
I get.
like,
Well, I don't know if
remember
numb. Numb's not a
remember
good
what you
word.
said. Remember what your sister Connie said about life when she was, I think she was 3 years old or 4 years old.
Know what you say?
She said how she was like 4 years old, and she said this: however you are born, the older you get, the further away you get from it.
Oh, okay. That's a mathematical thing. I wonder why she's an accountant. Makes sense.
Well, actually, it's mathematics, and she
Yeah.
and she did go into accounting. So
Yeah, a good Jewish profession. So I guess another question that I have that I'm realizing, like, I think you had a few nicknames, but can you tell me what
some
they
of which I cannot repeat over the air.
100%. Can you tell me what kind of nicknames you had and why you had them and how you got them?
Well, it was Shar, obviously, for sure. My English name is Charlene, so it was
Mhm.
Shar. My cousin called me Shar Monster.
Why Char Monster?
I was, let's put it this way: had Ritalin been around in those days, I would have definitely been a candidate.
I think you still are, Ema.
What other nicknames? I think it's when I was in high school and college. I think I told you that it became very much in vogue
Yeah,
for
have a girl
girls.
names to have
Yeah,
boys names.
girls were taking on boy names, and
Yeah.
starting to dress like very, like it was like, let's go Mashiach comes. It says in the Gemara, Mashiach comes, that's going to happen. That men and women, boys and girls are going to kind of switch places. Girls are going to become more masculine, more assertive, and guys are going to get a little more, like, more feminized and a little more gentle. Um, so anyway, so I called myself Charlie. The boy form of Charlene. There was this one guy though, he used to like to call me Chuck.
Oh, what? How come?
Chuck is the nickname for Charles.
Oh, I figured like,
Yeah.
was there anything that like a nickname that you like to like you earned somehow, or like you had someone just say something? Like I know my nickname's Saj or Saji or Sarge or Soda Pop. Like I've heard all sorts of renditions of my name just out of pure, I think, laziness or whatnot from people.
I'm trying to think. There was this guy, and let's put it this way: my maiden name was Dickman,
Yes.
and all I can say is it's a good thing I was a girl, because there were guys that used to joke around about my last name, and me being a girl, I didn't take, I took it as a joke, and I couldn't take it seriously since I was a girl. Had I been a guy and they said the same thing to me, I think I would have been like,
Oh, calling you dickless?
yes.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I know. I remember that one. What about your siblings? Did your siblings have like other nicknames that like I don't know?
What do you mean? Their nicknames or my nickname?
Like I know one of our siblings' nickname is Yosifa, and that's like a nickname that like mentioned once when he was like 3 years old. It carried on for a couple. So like
that was before he had his upshirnish.
Exactly.
He was a pretty boy.
Pretty boy.
Yeah,
He was a pretty boy.
He had long, beautiful blonde hair that none of my girls ever had. I mean, beautiful, long, thick, beautiful blonde hair. Yeah.
So like anything like that.
Tease around about him. No, Mushka, I used to call her Moosey.
Yeah, Miss Moosey. Yeah, I'm aware of that. But I'm talking about something with your sisters.
Oh boy, I'm trying to think. My sisters. Well, Judy, we used to call her Jude. Sometime,
Oh,
Judy.
so when the
Jude.
song came out,
Hey, Judy.
oh, you must have
Well,
gone
and
nuts.
there was also a song that she really picked up. Everybody really picked up on when she was. I think she was in junior high school. It was Judy in disguise. Da, 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 that's what you are. Da, 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 da,
Judy
da.
in Disguise.
Judy in disguise. Lemonade pies
Who sings
and
that?
a brand new cigar. Cantaloupe eyes look to me tonight with Judy in disguise with glasses. I'm gonna look it up sometime.
I'll
So
look it up.
everybody, of course, yeah. That was the worst. I think that I don't know if I can say it's the worst thing or the funniest thing. It depends. I guess it depends how you take it. When there's a rock and roll song
Oh yeah.
with your name, like I was talking to this woman one time. I had to do something over the phone with I forgot what company it was. So I called her and I said, who should I say I'm speaking to? She goes, Dawn. So I said, Dawn, go away. I'm no good for you. She goes, oh, yeah. She goes, I was in high school when that song was out. People used to sing that to me all the time.
Yeah. I never had that, nor did I ever have a keychain with my name on it.
A keychain with your name on it.
Yeah.
Something.
That was a thing back in the day.
Yeah, but that was one of the things that upset me when I was growing up, is that you go to the store and there's keychains with names and all sorts of things with names, and there's Sarah and there's Jane and there's Anne and there's even Judy or whatever. I never found anything with a Charlene on it.
Couldn't find a woman that said Charles. Just take it with that one. Just run with it. I have a good question, actually. Did your parents have pet names for each other or nicknames?
Nicknames.
Nicknames or pet names? Not like asshole or dick or.
Well, that goes without saying.
I'll be here all night, folks.
No, actually, no.
Really?
I never heard them use pet names.
I guess, was that like back in the day? Like that was just the style back in the day? Like you don't talk to each other like informally?
I can't say that. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Sorry.
Like with your mother?
Ignorant about that.
Oh, okay. Well,
What about you? Do you and your wife have pet names?
I'm trying to go high, but I just want to go low. No, it's like honey, babe, sweet cheeks. No, that one I made up. No, nothing in particular. Just, but it's funny because like when you get into that status where like you don't really call each other by your name, you call each other by a pet name. When you call each other by like your full name, it just sounds weird.
Well, there was a couple in our shul who it was during Simchas Torah.
Yeah.
And so I said to her, do you and your husband have pet names? And everybody there is usually a little, Simchas Torah people are drinking.
Yeah.
And
a little more loosened up.
So she told me, oh, what happened to me there? Where am I?
Nope, you're right here, honey. You're here. I got you.
You can see me?
I can see you.
Okay. So there was so she told me that she called her husband Poopsie.
Poopsie.
So I'm sitting there with her and we're watching the men doing the hakafas, and this man is standing, like right in front of me, and he's trying to get this man's attention, and he's calling him by his regular name to try to get his attention, and the guy's not turning around. The guy like doesn't hear him, and he's calling his name and calling his name. So for a joke, I said to this guy, call him Poopsie.
Oh gosh.
So he calls out, hey, Poopsie. And the man turns around right away, and the woman says to me, I'm never talking to you again.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I like Simchas Torah. I always looked forward to it as a kid. It just was so much fun seeing because like you see the parents and the rabbi, everyone is like, like more loosed up and more happy and more like, not taking everything so, I don't want to say seriously, but not taking everything with such a strong hand. It's more a lighter hand, and it was enjoyable to see everyone just have a good time.
Purim, and Purim, yeah.
Purim. Which is coming up soon.
Yeah.
You have your costume ready?
Like pudding. I don't know. I was thinking to myself, I got on the family WhatsApp, and I saw your brother and his wife got their costumes.
Yeah, I got my costume.
Yeah, what are you going to be? What's your costume?
We're going to do Ruthie is gonna be Carmen Sandiego. I'm gonna be Where's Waldo.
Oh, that's cute. Where did you get did you go on Amazon? You ever get these
Amazon.
Amazon?
Amazon, get a shirt and a hat, done.
And that's what I was thinking about to myself, that I should do something. I've never done something like that before.
Oh, really?
Actually going on Amazon and getting a real, like nice costume. But I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think what I would be.
A jester, a queen, a king, Queen Esther, Vashti. Trying to think. Well, actually, what have you dressed up as for Purim? I'm trying to wonder. What have you done for Purim? I don't remember.
Not too much. There was one Purim. There was one Purim I put a pillow under my dress.
And you were pregnant?
Yeah. Your father wasn't so happy about that one.
Another one.
And there was a Purim where I put on one of your father's old kaputtas and one of his old hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, got dressed up as a guy. That's a that's a typical one.
If you could get a sheet and dress up yourself up as Tati, like floating around.
No.
It's terrible.
And well, I remember when you were a baby.
Mm-hmm.
I dressed you up. I dressed up as a girl for Purim. And I remember coming in from Megillah reading, and your father turned around and he saw me, carrying you. You weren't even walking yet. You were real little. And I think you were less than about a year old, maybe less than a year old. And I came in. I put you in this pretty little girl's bonnet and a pretty little girl's dress. And your father just looked at me and like shook his head like, no,
no, that's not happening. No, I'm not gonna have that. Yeah, I mean, I've dressed up as so many different things, but I've never dressed up as a clown. I've never. It's funny because like that's like always the main thing in Purim is you dress up as a clown. Everyone like that's the thing you dress up as sometime,
Wow.
A clown, yeah.
Clown.
It's like my life show. Waka waka waka. Yeah.
Talking about we've come full circle now. Talking about times you felt like a loser and perfect for Purim dress up as a clown.
Well, Where's Waldo's gonna help me try to find myself. Yeah, it's funny because like I'm really looking forward to Purim, but I'm noticing that like everyone's getting ready for Pesach. Like I'm seeing advertisements for Pesach. Giant has all this Pesach stuff out already, But yeah, I can't wait. I'll see you guys, God willing, in Florida.
Yes, looking very, very forward to it, Bezos Hashem.
Yeah.
That's one of the great things about, at least one of the perks of being a senior citizen is that you don't have to really worry that much about Pesach cleaning, unless you're the type of person who you eat in bed all the time, you eat all around the house. You just keep your food to the kitchen and the dining room. So, do you remember the cookie line?
Cookie line.
I don't know. Were you old enough? What happened was it got to the point with Pesach cleaning that your siblings and like my kids, your brothers and sisters, everybody, kids eat all over the house. Yeah. The Morris compares children to mice.
Yeah, when it comes to Pesach, yeah.
Yeah, that they spread crumbs all over the place.
Yeah.
So I finally showed everybody with my foot this little line in the wood that we had. We have wooden floors, and this line that was in the dining room. I get right at the end of the dining room, and I said, "This is the cookie line. There is not to be eaten anything past this line. It was you couldn't go past the cookie line with food."
Yes, and you do the chametz dance.
You have to do the chametz dance. So you really jogged my memory. Yeah, let's tell the audience about the chametz dance. What it was after Purim, and so we wanted to keep the house crumb free.
Mm-hmm.
So before you left, as we're as the weeks are coming and we're cleaning, finally we're getting closer and closer to having to confine all eating to the kitchen at all times. And you're finding the dining room, because we're about to clean the dining room for Pesach. So before kids would leave the kitchen, we did what's called the chametz dance, where you actually had to jump up and down and brush yourself off. And I go, let's do the hump stance, shake it, shake it, shake it. Let's do the hump stance, shake up all the crumbs and do the hump stance, do the hump stance.
And then you wrap the entire kitchen in tinfoil. It's true. It's
Yes.
we make a joke of it, but it actually did happen, and that's very, very real.
I tell you, looking back, there were a lot of chumras.
Yeah.
That we found later on we really did not have to do. That just added more stress and more work.
Yep.
And like for instance, all that foiling of the kitchen, the walls, the counters, everything. That was like totally unnecessary. And the refrigerator, we found out later, as a matter of fact, they came out later and they were advising people, don't foil the inside of the refrigerator. Don't do that because it was causing a lot of refrigerator systems to break down. Really was bad for the refrigeration. Yeah. So, I mean, you have no idea how, when I had to foil, when we were foiling the refrigeration, how long it took me, because the refrigerator, the inside of it is damp, is wet. So in order to get the foil to stick to the walls, I had to use masking tape. And the masking tape, of course, would fall right off. So I had to actually, I think I took a blow dryer and dried the walls. I mean, don't ask how long it took me. Drying the walls of the refrigerator, just drying and drying and drying and drying. So they were bone dry. And then totally putting foil all over the entire inside of the refrigerator with masking tape. I mean, don't ask how long it took me.
How long did it take you?
Oh, you're talking hours.
Gosh.
Hours. Just the refrigerator, hours.
So it's funny.
And then years later, finding out that it was totally unnecessary. You didn't have to. Just wiping it off would have been sufficient.
Exactly.
Maybe you might want to put a piece of foil on the shelves, but that's about it.
Well, it's funny because the shelves I was cleaning, I didn't realize that, like, I was trying to be efficient, so I quickly took out the cold glass shelves of the refrigerator and started putting hot water and cleaning them, and the whole thing just snapped and broke, and I had no idea. I think I was like 9 or 10. I had zero clue about that. Like, it just broke. I don't know what happened, but yeah.
Oh well. All I know is I remember upon occasion certain things being cleaned in the house where I'd be downstairs, you kids would be cleaning them, maybe upstairs in the bathroom swing, and I would hear crash. I would say, okay. That's it. What am I going to do? It's gone. Well, like you say, rolling with the punches.
Really,
what am I going to do?
I think it's what it is. I think rolling with the punches comes with experience, but experience where you accept the reality. And I think the initial reaction that we have is just not willing to accept the reality. And the more reality you accept, the better your life will be. And it's finding that middle road of reality that you're trying to go for. And that's really something we need to do is the lesson for the day. Like in the animated Wheels of Morality, turn. Tell us the lesson that we shall learn. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, Ima. Have a wonderful Shabbos and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Sonny. Have a great Shabbos. Love you.
you.
Bye-bye.